Hi guys, welcome back to Mer Murder, where we put the Mer in murder. I am your host, Mercedes Rose, and I am so happy that you guys are here for another week. I just want to point out the obvious. There hasn't been video, and honestly, there will not be video until I say so, because unfortunately, it's just pretty hard for my phone to really, we spend thousands of dollars on these stupid iPhones, and it's so hard for me to just get like an hour and a half worth of footage from my phone onto literally any other literally any other surface or platform. It's so hard for me to get onto there. So for some reason, I've just been having a really hard time getting my footage from off my phone and then being able to edit it onto my software and everything. Like, it's just becoming really impossible. So I am just going to wait until I do have an actual camera to record on, and unfortunately the camera that I want is $800. That's the cheapest. The most expensive that it is if I actually get it from the actual store, Sony. I want a Sony, what is it? XV7 or VX7, one of those. It's something like that. I really want like a good camera with good quality, and then to be able to just take my SD card or my memory card, whatever one is in there. I want to be able to just put it into my PC and be able to edit with no problems. I just really ultimately, I wouldn't mind having to go through all the trouble, especially for you guys. I just really don't want it to stop my schedule of being able to upload on time. And it does get very hard when I'm uploading and editing at like 4 a.m. trying to reach my deadlines. So I just think it's easier if I make sure, my top priority really is just to make sure that I'm putting out my episodes for you guys. And it is a podcast, so you don't always got to see my pretty face. But I'm sure you guys aren't missing it much. You'll see it one day. One day for Christmas. Like... Speaking of Christmas is 10 days away. My birthday is 10 days away. I hope you guys are super excited. I'm actually very, very, very excited for my birthday this year. I actually have real plans. Like, what? And I'm just really excited for what's to come. I'm also cooking a lot, so I'm excited for what's on the menu. And no, yeah, that's really all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me as usual. I look forward for every single time that I get to sit in this chair and record for you guys and be able to tell you guys more stories. Actually, I did want to talk about this one thing. I have been seeing that a lot of people are really against the true crime community, and they haven't been enjoying the content that's been released lately, because specifically this one woman said that, I can't remember who her mother was, but her mom was murdered by, I believe, a friend of hers. And now they're making it into a movie. And honestly, the movie itself is very tone deaf. This is someone's life that was taken, and they're making it like kind of a comedy. And I don't know. I completely agree with her. She said that she really can't stand true crime because somebody's worst day is someone's content and someone's story time. And I completely understand that. That is not at all what I want to do on my platform. I've always said since day one that my platform is for telling people stories, recognizing our victims for more than what they are, making sure that we give people an opportunity to get their stories a platform and a stage to be listened to. It's all just for awareness. It's all with the best intentions for me. I never want to exploit anyone or any cases. If I ever heard that someone didn't like the story that I covered on their behalf or anything like that, I would take it down in a heartbeat. I really don't care about anything besides making sure that our victim stories are being told and making sure that people get awareness. I do know that on the other side of things, one of the cases that I will be working on soon, I'm actually in really close connection with the mother of one of the victims that I'm going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks. And she's just so grateful that I'm giving her son a platform and his story being told. And she's just really grateful that I'm even speaking on his name and his memory and honoring him in some sort of way. So that's really what it is for me. I don't want anyone to ever get confused. This is not for shits and giggles. This is not for fun. This is not for, let's talk about this crazy story. Like, it's really not a crazy story. I can acknowledge that these are real stories. And if it ever hurts someone in any way having to hear this or relive the stories of someone that they loved over and over, I will 100%, 1000% take whatever I have on down. And that's really all it is. I really just want to make sure that we never forget these people, because there's so much more than what the stories are that I tell. And I just think it's so important that we don't forget them, because they were once here and they deserve to be here for as long as we are. There's no reason why the people we've talked about and the people we will talk about aren't here. There's no reason why they shouldn't be here still. So all we can do is really just honor them and make sure that we keep their memory and their legacy alive. So that's really all I want to use my platform for. I really am not interested in rehashing people's traumas and just beating a dead horse, really. And I feel like that's not a good analogy for it, but It's never in a way to exploit people's traumas or stories. It's never that for me. So I hope that translates over audio, video, however you take in my content. I hope it never feels like I'm just talking about a story. I hope it feels that I'm really honoring someone's legacy and really keeping it alive. Because as you guys know, like, I lost my friend to murder. Like, it's never been a story for me. It's never been, oh yeah, let's just talk about this crazy thing that happened one time to somebody. Like, it's always been personal. It's always been real for me. So I hope that really translates and you guys don't ever it never comes off as disrespectful to you guys. I really hope it doesn't. I really hope that you guys enjoy everything that I do. And if you don't, just let me know. I'm always open to constructive criticism. Don't ever feel afraid. This is a safe space for everyone, you, me, anyone that wants to join. And thank you for being here. Let's get into the story. Okay, so did you guys know that in 2025 alone, as of the day of this recording, December 15th, there have been 467 mass shootings in the United States? According to massshootingtracker.site, there have been 6,999 mass shootings in the U.S. since 2013. Mass shootings have become far too common in today's society, and by the looks of things, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to be slowing down anytime soon. I think we all have become way too desensitized to hearing about mass shootings and tend to downplay or brush over the lives lost. People are not just names or numbers. We should never be reduced to anything less than what we are. We are real people with real lives, goals, futures, aspirations, and people who care about us. We should never be reduced to just tallies on a board of people who lost their lives due to senseless violence. And the same goes for the 9 lives lost in today's case, 8 of whom were innocent victims who are now a part of history in the worst mass shooting in Plano, Texas. Spencer James Hight was born on October 20th, 1984 in Orange County, California, to his parents Cynthia and Chester Hight and his 3 siblings Casey, Leah, and Lindsay. There isn't much online about Spencer's upbringing or his personal life, but the people who knew him before and during the time of today's case said he was a cynical guy who had an obsession with drinking and guns. It was rare to see Spencer out enjoying life and being truly happy. He seemed to be a dark cloud of a person, some people said. The complete opposite of Meredith Lane, the woman who had become his wife and one of his first victims. Meredith Emily Lane was born on December 12, 1989 in Chamblee, Georgia, to her parents Jean and Deborah or Debbie Lane. Meredith was the first and only child welcomed into the world by her parents, and they absolutely adored her. She was the center of their lives, and they stopped at nothing to ensure that their daughter had everything she ever wanted and needed growing up. Meredith grew up in Snellville, Georgia, and had a knack for living life. And these are all cities outside of Atlanta, by the way. Like, think if you're from New York and it's like Brooklyn and Queens, or Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens in relation to one another. Or if you're from Texas, it's like Plano or McKinney being outside of Dallas in those relations. Anyway, Meredith dabbled in many hobbies such as ballet and jazz, which she practiced from the ages 3 to 13. She was an equestrian, volleyball player, and a synchronized swimmer, winning first place in the Southeastern region competition at just 8 years old. Meredith had confidence and passion in everything she indulged in and was known as a fierce competitor with, quote, no fear. At just 13 years old, Meredith was the second runner-up in the Miss Teen Georgia pageant, and at 15 in her sophomore year of high school, she was chosen to be one of the 2 students to represent the state of Georgia at the Presidential Classroom in Washington, D.C. If you aren't aware of what the Presidential Classroom is, it was a high school program where students were chosen to spend a weekend at Georgetown Marriott Conference Center at Georgetown University in D.C. The students would visit sites such as the Washington Monument, Mount Vernon, the Supreme Court, etc. And they would meet with and get the chance to speak with political officials about the Constitution and the current political scene. During Meredith's conference, she met with the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia and the governor of Georgia, Nathan Deal. Meredith, or Mer as her friends in high school referred to her as, was not only an athletic and talented, but extremely intelligent girl. In her junior and senior years of high school, she was a part of the Georgia Academy of Math, Engineering, and Science, or its acronym GAMES, where she was able to complete dual enrollment at Georgia Middle State University, getting both high school and college credits. At 17, Meredith attended Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia, and then transferred to the University of Texas at Dallas, or UTD. This is where she would graduate with a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics and also meet Spencer Hight, who was her downstairs neighbor in the apartment complex that she lived in. Meredith and Spencer's relationship blossomed from more than just neighbors to being boyfriend and girlfriend, and they had a seemingly happy relationship with a bright future ahead of them. In 2009, when Meredith was just 20 years old, she told her mother she was going to, quote, marry Spencer. The two graduated from UTD and went on to get great jobs in their respective fields. Meredith at the Coca-Cola Company in Fort Worth, and Spencer at Texas Instruments, a global semiconductor company in Dallas, Texas. And in May of 2011, 21-year-old Meredith and 26-year-old Spencer would go on to get married on a beautiful cruise to Jamaica. And just 4 years later, in 2015, they would purchase their first home together on West Spring Creek Parkway in Plano, Texas, just a few blocks away from Spencer's job. Like most marriages, things started off great, but hardships arose, often challenging the couple and their strength in the relationship. A few months after purchasing their home in 2015, Spencer lost his job at Texas Instruments, and the financial burden of the mortgage was placed solely on Meredith. This, on top of Spencer's excessive drinking habits, became the catalyst for many of the fights between the couple. Fights that would eventually become physical on Spencer's behalf. Meredith's mother, Debbie, recalled a time where Meredith told her Spencer slammed her head into a wall during a dispute, but she refrained from reporting this incident to the police. I can only assume that the lack of police or parental intervention was because during this time, and for the next 2 years, Meredith was trying to get Spencer help for his alcoholism, and the two were often going to marriage counseling. She probably thought pressing charges or getting police involved would prevent any progress or improvements that they made this far in the relationship. However, improvements were the last thing Spencer was making. And in 2017, Meredith, who was now 27 years old and had a now 32-year-old husband who was an abusive alcoholic with no job, she decided enough was enough and she separated from Spencer, forcing him to move out of the home in March of 2017. Meredith, being the brave and strong young woman that she was, didn't even hesitate when she filed for divorce after the separation because she said she was never afraid of her husband. And so she went through with filing for divorce in July of 2017. Meredith was more than ready to move on with her life. She picked up hobbies such as cooking, which her family said she was amazing at, and she spent more and more time with the ones that she loves, going to Renaissance festivals and reenactments, and she honestly thought she was finally free from her abusive husband. But unfortunately, she was wrong. Spencer took the separation and divorce very hard. According to his friends, he would get so drunk he would black out or vomit on himself. He began isolating himself from his friends and family, and even posted on Facebook a few times voicing his anger towards his estranged wife. One specific post was pretty disturbing, and he actually posted it just a few months before the shooting. It depicted a cartoon of a person doing the Heimlich maneuver on a woman into a backwards body slam with the title, quote, "When your wife is choking." Spencer's struggle and descent into darkness did not go unnoticed, and on numerous occasions, his friends tried to get him help. They offered options such as counseling and rehab, but were met with cold declines and sometimes were the target of his fits of rage. Therefore, they all eventually cut ties with him one by one. Eventually, Spencer was all alone, and with nothing but his depression, alcohol, and guns, he became the ultimate threat to those around him. September 10th, 2017 was a Sunday, and like most football fans, Meredith had plans to be glued to her TV all day in the company of her good friends to enjoy the game. This particular game was special for Meredith for a couple reasons as well. Her original home team, the Atlanta Falcons, were set to play at 1 p.m. against the Chicago Bears, and the home team of her friends, the sacred Dallas Cowboys, would be playing as well at 8:30 p.m. against the New York Giants. This would also be her first time hosting a football watch party as a newly single woman, as the last time she hosted it was a Super Bowl party with Spencer. So this was like her first opportunity to celebrate her freedom and show everyone that she was moving on with her life. Meredith cooked, cleaned, and prepared her home for the event, inviting her 8 closest friends to join her. 22-year-old Daryl Hawkins, 24-year-old Olivia Defner, 25-year-old Carly Shockey, 25-year-old Caleb Edwards, 28-year-old Maya Bass, 29-year-old James Dunlop, who was actually Spencer's best man at their wedding, 31-year-old Ryan Morgan, who was also in the wedding as Spencer's groomsman, and finally, 33-year-old Anthony Cross, or Tony, as he was better referred to by his loved ones. One by one, the partygoers arrived at Meredith's home at 1712 West Spring Creek Parkway, all ready to watch the game and be in good company. But unbeknownst to them, their former friend and partner was just 5 minutes down the road drinking at a local bar and plotting their demise. As the group fired up their grill and enjoyed their party, Spencer pulled up to a bar that he frequented at called the local public house. The first time Spencer arrived at the bar on this day was at 2:39 p.m. He spent it how he usually did, drinking and talking with the staff before leaving. Spencer returned a few hours later at 6:38 p.m., noticeably more drunk, stumbling into tables on his way in, This visit was much more different than others. And even though he was significantly more intoxicated during the second visit, 27-year-old bartender Lindsay Glass, who served Spencer just a few hours prior, kept the drinks coming. Lindsay served Spencer a total of 5 drinks over the course of 2 visits, 2 Miller Lights, 2 gin and tonics, and a shot of lemon vodka, and his behavior grew increasingly concerning. As Spencer sat at the bar, he pulled out a large knife and spun it on the bar top in front of Lindsay, sort of playing around with it. She texted a coworker saying, quote, "Spencer has a big knife on the bar and is spinning it, and just asked for his tab and said, quote, I have some dirty work to do." She followed that text with another calling him a psycho with a bunch of O's. Shortly after paying, Spencer stumbled out onto the patio of the bar, where he pulled out a pistol from his waistband. He was obviously very drunk, at one point even falling backwards and needing to be picked up and escorted to his car by 2 of the bartenders, one of which was Lindsay. They apparently knew of him and were his, quote, friends, according to some of the news articles. And I'm not sure if they were really his friends or if they just knew him and were familiar with him because he was a regular at their bar, but I don't know what kind of friends would let someone drive home in this state. But again, I never want to victim blame. I never want to blame anybody who could have, should have, would have done something differently. I don't think, me personally, I would not have let any of my friends drive home knowing that they just fell on the floor, knowing that they had 500 shots, seeing that they were drunk as hell. Like, I just don't think enough common sense was used in this very, very moment. But again, this is not to blame anyone. It's nobody's fault but the killer. So the 2 bartenders that helped Spencer up to his car asked him to put his weapons away, and Spencer instructed one of them to actually turn away so that they couldn't see what was in his trunk. Lindsay brought up the fact that he was very intoxicated and that he probably wasn't going to be able to drive, and Spencer said, quote, "I can't do the things that I want to do tonight without being this intoxicated." And with that, the bartenders didn't really say anything more. They let Spencer get into his car and drive away, but they did decide to follow behind him to ensure that he got home safely. At least that's where they assumed he was going. However, Spencer did not go to his apartment that evening. Instead, he arrived at the house of his estranged wife, where he was spotted standing between the houses, seemingly stalking what was going on inside. Lindsay actually called the police to alert them of Spencer's alarming behavior, but the calls were just too late. Back on Meredith's side of town, laughter and the smell of barbecue filled the streets. It was more lively than usual, said a nearby employee/neighbor, Miss Crystal Sugg. Meredith's home was actually located near an assisted living center, and one of the employees also lived in the neighborhood, so obviously she could attest to the usual state of the neighborhood, especially what happens around at her neighbors' houses. And she said she never really heard much from Meredith's, but tonight, Crystal was outside of her home smoking a cigarette when she noticed 2 people outside of the house arguing. With the sun almost fully set, it was hard to make out the figures, so she made her way down the street until she could see a little bit more. She noticed Meredith and Spencer arguing at around 7:45 p.m., and she stayed to watch for a few minutes. She witnessed Spencer grab Meredith, who struggled in his grasp until she was free. Meredith began walking into her home, trying her best to avoid escalating the situation any further, and Spencer began walking back to his car. But not to leave. Instead, he grabbed his AR-15 from his car, and he began spraying the front lawn with bullets as he chased after Meredith. Crystal Sugg, the nearby neighbor who witnessed everything, ran back to her home out of fear of what was to come, and she dialed 911. As did other neighbors after hearing 30 to 40 rounds of shots go off in the home, paired with horrific screams. One neighbor was actually in her backyard as the murders took place, and she witnessed Meredith asking Spencer, quote, "Did you really have to do this?" before she overheard several more shots ring out. At around 8 p.m., within just minutes of the 911 calls, the first of many Plano police officers arrived at the scene. One officer, who isn't explicitly named in any of the articles, but definitely deserves the recognition in my opinion because he was the bravest officer there. He ran into the home through the backyard completely alone and yelled at Spencer, quote, "Hands up." Quickly after, gunfire erupted as the officer shot at Spencer, killing him instantly. He lay there dead with a rifle slung across his body, a pistol in his waistband, and a large knife tucked into his pants. Paramedics and officers rushed into the scene of what can only be described as absolute carnage. Around them, in the home and on the yard, lay the bodies of the men and women which they attempted CPR on to try to save their lives. Unfortunately, 7 of the victims were pronounced dead at the scene, including Meredith. 2 others were severely injured and were brought to a nearby hospital for life-saving procedures. Ultimately, one of them passed away that same night, leaving 25-year-old Carly Shockey as the sole survivor of the mass shooting, in stable but critical condition, as she suffered from a gunshot wound to the face. A total of 9 people lost their lives that night on September 10, 2017, making it the deadliest shooting in Plano, Texas history, and in such an unsuspecting place at that. Usually we see mass shootings occur in largely populated areas, as the gunman is usually targeting as many people as possible and trying to do the most damage. But this one is particularly haunting because 8 completely innocent and undeserving people just wanted to enjoy a football game together. And they were murdered by one person who unfortunately knew where all of them would be. And I feel like that's a majority of the mass shootings that we see. Like, it's a bunch of people just doing what they're supposed to be doing, all in the right place, but unfortunately at the wrong time. The Hight family, Spencer's family, released a statement shortly after the shooting saying, quote, "We as a family express our deepest sorrow and condolences to all of the families and friends of the victims. These young and vibrant lives did not deserve to be taken," end quote. The following day after the shooting, September 11, 2017, investigators located and searched Spencer's apartment at 6000 Ohio Drive. And what they found helped them understand just the kind of person Spencer was. In his apartment, they found hundreds of rounds of ammunition, a rifle, a high-powered munition launcher, which is a military-grade weapon used to launch explosives like an RPG, and several forms of drug paraphernalia, such as 2.2 ounces of marijuana and 481.94 grams of mushrooms, which is roughly over 16 ounces or 1 pound of mushrooms. During Spencer's autopsy, it was revealed that he had a blood alcohol level of 0.33, 4 times the state's legal limit of 0.08. 19 months after the shooting, Lindsay Glass was arrested on April 30th, 2019, and charged with violating Texas law, sale of certain persons. This crime is a misdemeanor for serving alcohol to a habitual drunkard, intoxicated, or insane person. She was facing up to a $500 fine, a year in jail, or both if convicted. Lindsay's attorney said, quote, "Spencer Hight's decision to destroy the lives of 8 other people is unrelated to the 4 drinks that Hight consumed at the local public house on September 10, 2017. He goes on to explain that Lindsay was, quote, "far from complicit," as she was the one who brought Spencer's alarming behavior up to her manager, and she never expected Spencer to commit such a horrific act. In September of 2019, the Collin County grand jury declined to indict Lindsay on the charges, as she was not liable for Spencer's actions, and in the video evidence you can see that Lindsay was not watching all of Spencer's odd behaviors, but once she did notice, she made the appropriate decisions and even went the extra mile to follow him as he arrived to the place of the crime, where she was one of the first people to alert officers of his presence at the home. The jury did, however, find the bar 20% liable for Spencer's actions, the other 80% being his fault, of course. The local public house surrendered their liquor license and business permit in 2018, and they are required to pay the sole survivor, Carly Shockey, $85 million. "I live," Carly told Fox 4 KDFW in an interview in October of 2021. She said, quote, "I am fine, but I make my next day fine just to keep going in life." Randy Shockey, Carly's father, told News, quote, "We are going to make something good come from this." The local public house has since been permanently closed and remains abandoned to this day. Recently, an order was put in place for the demolition of the bar, as it only stands as a grim reminder of the events that took place on September 10, 2017. 10 days following the shooting in 2017, a vigil was held for the victims at McCall Plaza in Plano. The vigil was held by JLCC, or the Junior League of Collin County, an organization of women that advocate for women's leadership and impact in the community. In the days following, all 8 victims' funerals were held one after the other, each of their families having to grieve and relive the pain over and over. And unfortunately, this is where our case ends today. Obviously, the murderer is dead. There isn't any real justice that could come from this. And unfortunately, 8 of our victims lost their lives, and 8 families have to grieve every day. But as usual, I would love to wrap up our case by taking a moment to remember each of our victims of the 2017 Plano mass shooting. James Richard Dunlop was a brilliant and talented young man. He was a member of the marching band at Allen High School, where he also graduated with honors. He went on to attend UT Dallas with a full-ride scholarship for electrical engineering. He earned his master's in RF engineering, and for 3 years he worked at the L3 Corporation. James was cremated and returned to his family and is sincerely missed by his parents, brother, and sister. Ryan Christopher Morgan was also a UTD graduate. He graduated with a degree in business administration in 2008 and worked as the manager of the UTD IT help department. He was also known for his enthusiastic energy and love of adventures and experiencing everything life had to offer. Ryan was laid to rest at the Jack Ford Cemetery and is remembered by his family and those he mentored as someone who personified generosity, ambition, and kindness. Ryan is deeply missed in his community. Maya Sade Bass was known as a compassionate and loving young woman with a smile that could light up a room. Maya was a barber in El Paso, Texas for 4 years at a shop called Capone's. Her fellow barbers remembered her as one of the most beautiful women and as the life of the shop. She moved from El Paso to Dallas with hopes of getting her dual license in barbering and cosmetology. She leaves behind her mother, siblings, and loving husband of 6 years, who said for all 6 years that they were together, they were still on their honeymoon. Her husband, an Army reservist, sadly did not know of her passing until the following day of the shooting, as he was over 1,000 miles away in Virginia on day 1 of his training. And Maya, like all of our victims, will forever be missed. Daryl William Hawkins, our youngest victim at just 22 years old, often went by Will and was known as a, quote, people person. A people person who was selfless, genuine, and radiant. Daryl spent most of his time either in church as an active leader and member of the 252 Youth Organization, serving special needs children in daycare, or outdoors as he loved socializing, hunting, and fishing. Daryl was a leader all throughout his life. He was elected president of the student body in middle school and president of the student council at McKinney Boyd High School. Daryl attended the Universal Technical Institute, where he pursued his love of cars and was chosen as class leader and speaker at his graduation by his peers in 2015. He went on to work for BMW in San Antonio, Texas as a technician, then David McDavid in Plano, Texas as a sales associate, and ultimately landed his last job at Hendrick Volkswagen at Frisco, Texas as a service advisor. Daryl spent his short but purposeful life making a great impact on all those that knew him. He was laid to rest at the Mer Memorial Lawn in Arkansas, and he leaves behind his parents and 2 sisters. Olivia Nicole Duffner is remembered as a fearless, bright, charitable, open-minded, and wholesome young woman. She graduated summa cum laude from Ronald Reagan High School in 2011 and graduated cum laude from UTD in 2015 with her bachelor's in marketing. Olivia was also a part of AIE SEC, a global youth-run nonprofit organization that provides young people with leadership development. Olivia was very well traveled and had a passion for experiencing everything life had to offer. She studied abroad in places such as Italy, Switzerland, China, Portugal, Croatia, and many, many more countries. Her travel blog slogan was actually, quote, "Wherever you go, go with all your heart." Her Uncle John said that she, quote, "represented everything we all hope our kids will become." Olivia leaves behind her parents and younger brother. Caleb Seth Edwards is remembered by loved ones for his obnoxious, adorable, and infectious laugh. Caleb never met a stranger. Ever since he was a baby, he was always so inviting and kind. He is remembered for his big heart and how he would fill up a room with energy and fun whenever he was in it. Caleb had a huge passion for writing, with his dreams of becoming a best-selling author. He hoped that he would go by C.S. Edwards on all of his works, and he worked hard to achieve his dreams. Caleb leaves behind his parents, step-parents, 3 sisters, and 2 brothers. His friends and family have faith that he knows how many lives he touched in the short time that he was here. Anthony Michael Cross, better known as Tony by his friends and family, was known for his loving and outgoing personality and was known to be pretty loud and funny. His loved ones and peers knew him for his impressive beard, one that was, quote, only rivaled by the size of his heart. Tony was 100% of himself 100% of the time and had a laugh that you knew came from his core, and it just made you want to laugh with him. Tony, like most of our victims, also graduated from UTD. He graduated in 2007 with his bachelor's in arts and technology. From there, he became an animator for video games and commercials, a job he was extremely passionate about. He enjoyed martial arts, yoga, LARPing, if you don't know what that is, that's live action role playing, and off-roading. Tony Cross was cremated, and a memorial service, aside from his original one, was held on October 14, 2017. At this memorial, it included a Viking funeral pyre to honor him and everything that he loved. And lastly, we have Meredith Emily Lane. I saved Meredith for last because most of the story was already about her, and I just wanted to allow more time for our other victims to be highlighted. But I still feel we should give her a few more moments to be remembered. Meredith was a strong, brave, free-spirited, and outgoing young woman. In Meredith's final months alive, being a survivor of domestic abuse, she spent her time living life to its fullest, not in fear. She is remembered by her loved ones as a young woman who was sincere, patriotic, stubborn, but most importantly, loving. Meredith had a way of making people feel at ease and making you want to talk to her. She lived by the motto, quote, "Love your life and give love to everyone on your journey." Meredith Lane leaves behind her mother and father, who now only have each other to go through the rest of their lives with. As we close out today's case, I'm going to leave you guys with some resources as usual, for those who may need it. If you or someone you know is facing domestic violence, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-7233, and you can also text BEGIN to 88788. And if you are struggling with the loss of a loved one after an act of gun violence, or you are a survivor of gun violence seeking support, please use the following resources: TraumaSurvivorsNetwork.org, SurvivorsEmpowered.org, and EveryTownSupportFund.org. You can also call or text 988 for free and confidential emotional support, or text CONNECT 741-741 to reach a trained crisis counselor 24/7 to help you cope with the fear, grief, and anxiety surrounding or following an act of gun violence. And with that comes the end of today's story of the deadliest mass shooting in Plano, Texas history, the 2017 Plano, Texas mass shooting. Okay, guys, so we have reached the part of the show where we give our police/investigator rating as well as a rating for the judge/jury. For the police, I'm giving Plano PD an A+, especially for the one officer, gold star for the one officer who courageously ran into the house completely alone, no other officers with him, completely alone, ran straight into the line of fire. He had no idea what was to come. Like, that's truly, I could not even imagine. I know. And when it comes to any shootings, I cannot imagine being in any of these people's shoes, like sitting there, not knowing what's going to happen, watching people die in front of you, seeing the carnage that was left behind afterward. Just everything about mass shootings seriously irks my soul and makes me so upset that we don't want more change. Unfortunately, we do live in a time where nobody really understands or gets it until it happens to them. And I just think that's so unfair. I think that's another reason why I want to use this platform to keep talking about people's stories, because I don't want to keep saying we. A lot of people who do indulge in true crime often just hear stories and they're just like, this is their source of entertainment and it's just crazy. But when it happens to you, it really changes and shifts everything that you know about true crime, the way that you see it, the way that you form your opinions based on it. Like, everything changes. It just becomes so real, and you just have to understand that it could be you one day. Life isn't promised to anybody. You really never know what could happen. You could wake up tomorrow and it be your last day and you would have no idea, and it really could be at the hands of somebody else, someone that you probably have never met, someone that you probably know really, really well. Like, I just think people need to be more mindful and be more empathetic and just put themselves in people's shoes more often, because this is a crazy thing to have to go through over and over and over in this country. But yeah, I'm giving an A+. Like I've said in previous episodes, I really cannot even fathom being a first responder. I can't imagine having to walk into that type of scene. I applaud them for arriving so fast. As you guys know, I did live in Texas. I am very, very, very familiar with that area. Plano, I am not going to lie, Plano PD will show up. You call Plano PD, they will show up. At least in my experience. I don't know. Maybe they got bad. I really don't know. But in my experience, you call Plano PD, you call Allen PD, they will be there immediately. You call them for anything, they will be there immediately. So I really do applaud them for responding so fast. Unfortunately, there was really nothing they could do. Like, I feel so horrible for these families and these people that had to go through that. I really could not even imagine the fear that they felt. And I truly just wish everybody involved in this case, whether it's family, whether it's survivors, whether it's friends of a friend or a friend of a friend, like, I just hope that everyone can heal. And it's been almost 10 years since this happened. I hope that they found peace with what happened, if that's even possible. I hope they're healing. I hope they're coping. I hope they don't live their lives every day with hate. And I really hope we can make this world a better place for them, because this happened almost 10 years ago. What I'm just trying to say basically is that this is not a rare occurrence. And if anything, it's just becoming more and more frequent. And it's just crazy because at some point, God forbid, but this might happen to somebody. This might happen to you. Like, it's like, I don't understand why it has to be that way. I don't understand why it has to be like, I don't really care until it happens to me. You should care. You should care now. You should care that it's happening to other people. We all deserve to be here. We were put on this earth for a reason, not to die. I hope people don't think that. That's insane. I wasn't put on this earth to be an example of anything. So I was put on this earth to be an example of Black excellence. Amen. But no, on a serious note, I really hope that they can live in a different time, because it must bring that up. It must haunt them every single time they have to hear about another shooting. And that's how I feel about all mass shooting survivors and families and victims. Like, every day they have to hear about another thing, and then it reminds them of what they've lost. It reminds them of what they went through. It reminds them all over again of their trauma. Like, that's just not a fair life to live. Nobody deserves that at all, truly. Okay, and now we can talk about the judge and jury. I'm giving the judge and jury in this case a B+. I honestly feel like, obviously, there's not much involvement in the case, because obviously Spencer could not be tried or, sentenced, punished at all for his part in this. Obviously, he's the biggest reason, the only reason why this all happened. So it's just really unfair that he's not here to suffer the consequences. But I did give them that plus. You guys know I usually give them B's when there's not really any involvement or anything I can say, because at the end of the day, you do your job. Kudos to you. Congratulations. But the plus is because I honestly think they did right by denying indicting Lindsay Glass. I really don't think anyone is at fault but Spencer. Like, no one could have possibly known that he was going to go and murder 8 people. That's insane. And I don't think that should have all fell on her. I'm sure she already felt guilty immediately after. I'm pretty sure she was there hearing the shots. Like, that's insane to have to, like, go to bed with every night. And, like, I just feel so bad for everyone involved, including Lindsay. It's not your fault at all that this happened. And honestly, I can kind of understand how Lindsay, if she really was a friend of Spencer's, I can kind of understand how she served him as much as she did. Honestly, as someone who used to be a bartender, and other bartenders better be honest, we work for tips. So honestly, it's whatever it is to make the guests happy. Now, I'm not out here just pouring shots and drinks and getting people fucked up at the bar. No. But if my regular is like, I've had regulars sit at the bar and have 8 shots of tequila, a full bottle of wine, and walk out completely fine. And yes, they walked home. I did not serve nobody driving, anything crazy like that. Like, they would walk home completely fine, because people's tolerances are different. And also, if someone's an alcoholic, that's such a sticky thing. Obviously, if someone's an alcoholic, get them help. Do not give them more alcohol. That is just not okay. But if you know someone can handle it, and it's really, like, at the end of the day, as someone who worked in the service industry, you are to blame, but it's also like the person sitting here drinking this liquor, knowing what it does to them, also has to take some responsibility. Obviously, they can't when they get to a certain point of intoxication. Again, common sense. You have to just use your common sense and gauge. I genuinely just think that the only thing Lindsay was guilty of was not having better judgment of the situation. Like, Spencer was already acting really drunk, already acting very odd. But it's not like she ignored it. Again, like they said, she didn't see everything. She's literally on camera serving other guests. It's not her job to babysit this man. This is a grown man. He's 30 something years old. He should know when enough is enough. He should know when it's time to go home. He should know how to act in public. Like, again, we can't keep blaming women for men's issues and downfalls. It's just not fair. It's just not fair at the end of the day. I do think that she did try her best. It would be one thing if she gave him all the alcohol and was like, screw it, Spencer, you're drunk, whatever, figure out your life. He sat there. He was being threatening to people. He said he had to go take care of something. He had a gun and a knife. Like, that's scary. And she acknowledged that. And she did what she needed to do. She even went out of her way to go and follow him to wherever he was going. And that makes me kind of think that maybe they were friends, because I would not be following none of my regulars out of a bar. That's extremely dangerous. But maybe she knew him. And again, she felt like she knew this person. Like, she felt like she could trust him. She felt safe enough with him, I guess. Like, she was fine with following him out to wherever he was going while he was super drunk. Like, obviously, she did not think that he would go and murder 8 people. Again, nobody would think that. I never once in my life thought one of my regulars at a bar would kick back 8 shots and then go kill their family. Like, I never thought that. That's insane. That's a crazy conclusion to draw, honestly. And that's me, someone who's been listening to true crime, and anytime something weird to me, like anytime something weird sticks out to me, I'm like, oh, this person's a killer. Like, to me, still, I wouldn't even be like, oh yeah, he's about to go do something really crazy and dangerous. Like, I honestly would have just thought he hurt himself. And not that that's okay. I just would not have thought that he would go out and kill 8 people. So I can understand why they wouldn't want to say that this girl is all at fault, because she's absolutely not. And that's already a crazy burden to put on somebody. Nobody deserves the burden of taking 8 lives except for the person that took 8 lives. Simple. So yeah, the court gets that plus for, in my opinion, doing the right thing. And those are our ratings today. So our sources for this week's case have been 11 Alive News, BBC News, CBS News, Examiner-Enterprise.com, FindAGrave.com, Fox4News.com, King5News.com, MassShootingTracker.site, NBC DFW, Scribe.com, The Washington Post, WFAA.com, and Wikipedia.com. And yeah, guys, that's it. That's all I got for you this week. Again, I really, really hope to see change in this world at some point. No other country has a problem with this the way that we do. And that's just not fair. It's not fair at all. I don't think anyone deserves to lose their lives anymore. If we haven't had enough deaths, I really don't know what more we can give for people to just want change. And for all the people that love their guns, I understand. It is a law. It's a right. You can have it if you need it. If you can have it if you want it. You can have it if you gotta have it. It's okay. That's you. Nobody wants to take your guns away, but we just want to see our kids live. We want to see our families live. Is that okay? Is that all right? I just feel so horrible for all the people having to live through this over and over and over because we can't get our shit together as a country. I really, really do hope that there's change soon, for the sake of our future, for the sake of our kids' future one day, for the sake of us. I just hope there's change, guys. And there's really not much you can do besides being safe, being aware of your surroundings, and at the end of the day, just showing up and being a good person no matter what, because tomorrow is never promised to anyone, guys. Please, please, please know that you are loved. The only thing permanent in life is death. You don't ever have to take things to this extreme if you're going through something bad. And just know that if no one in this world does, I love you guys and I care about you. And that's really all I got. If you guys want to keep up with the show and support, please, please, please leave a rating. Please feel free to follow the Instagram at Mer Murder, follow the TikTok at Mer Mur, join the Discord discussion group at Let's Play Murder. And there's also links. Everything's going to be linked in the podcast bio. All the show bios. Everything is linked. So please keep up with me there and support the show in any way you can. Like, comment, subscribe. And thank you guys for tuning in for another week of Mer Murder, where we put the Mer in murder. I love you guys so much. And I will see you all next week. Bye.